Time to turn focus on what we're calling the 100-day agenda for the new government. And today, of course, we're joined by a very special guest, N.K. Singh, former Finance Secretary, joins us live here on Business Tonight. Thanks very much for being with us, sir. What do you think should really be on top of the 100-day agenda for the new Prime Minister, no matter which ruling coalition really comes in?
In my view, of course, on top of the agenda of the 100-day program of any new Prime Minister, first, restoration of trust, restoration of confidence, and reversing of expectations. I mean, how to really imbibe the Indian entrepreneurs that they are not scurrying to dark cases, to fight investigating agencies, to be having conflicts with regulatory authorities, but can really go back to what is central to them, namely the entrepreneurship, to look for green fields of investment. Now, this requires a whole host of action, some corrective action and some new action. In terms of corrective action, a degree of assurance to investors, both domestic and foreign, that laws will not be changed retrospectively, that never again will we try to reverse an order of the highest judicial authority in trying to amend the laws which have a retrospective impact. Of course, it also means much greater clarity in terms of the delineation of responsibilities between different institutions, some mandated by the Constitution and some which have been created subsequently in terms of subordinate legislation. So I think the first important thing is the restoration of trust and confidence to the investing community.
But Mr. Singh, in your view, what really can the government do to revive the investment cycle? You know, there is a cabinet committee on investment that exists, but is there merit in the argument that states should also now be represented on the cabinet committee on investment? It is, after all, at state level where projects get stuck even after being cleared by the centre.
Well, I think that very much so. I think that one of the things which the new government must do is have a much better and a more robust consultative mechanism between the centre and the states to revive the federal spirit of our Constitution. States should be treated with a degree of autonomy and respect, and I think that the representation of the states in this investment body would be an important salutary step. But I think to answer your more general question on what can be done to revive the investment cycle, since many projects of many thousands of crores are stuck in the pipeline, which are lagging in the implementation schedule, the most important thing is a degree of assurance to the executive decision makers that bona fide decisions taken by them in good faith will be protected, and they will be encouraged to take these bona fide decisions. If the general executive and the bureaucracy is suffering from a sense of fear that even bona fide decisions would be questioned in one form or the other by one regulatory entity or the other, they would be disinclined to take decisions, even normal decisions.
Fair point there, but how should the new government really resolve something like a GST? Many people believe it could be a potential game changer. It's stuck in all kinds of political crossfire. Are you hopeful of a breakthrough?
I'm quite not only hopeful, I'm sanguine of a breakthrough. I'm sanguine because we were almost there. I think that the states require a degree of assurance that during the period of transition, their losses would be compensated in an appropriate way, and that some of their residual powers would not be taken away. That the decision-making process in the body which is to be constituted through a constitutional amendment would be completely transparent. And I think that, frankly, I think that since the Congress is committed to it, and since, if let us assume that the new ministry which comes into play in Delhi is an NDA-centric or a BJP-led government, then I think that clearly it would be in their interest to forge ahead. And Congress can scarcely get away now by saying that because they are in the opposition, they would be opposed to the GST. So I am quite hopeful and sanguine that the requisite number of states which are needed for effecting the constitutional amendment would be forthcoming after this general election.
Final question on pricing of natural resources. Gas pricing has become such a contentious political issue this time around. How do you think should the new government handle this sensitive case?
Since when it comes to, let us say, an issue like the mines, there are issues of the subsisting rights of forest dwellers. There are subsisting rights of people whose area is being taken up for mining. So how does it really make a choice in terms of an intertemporal choice between pricing now and pricing for the future? in terms of, for instance, how should valuation of the future be factored in making valuations for the present. All these, I think, requires much greater diligence in terms of the respective regulators. And we need to have regulatory entities which I believe must be grounded in the best domain knowledge and the best international practice. Look, for instance, many issues where our regulators, in spite of regulatory decisions, the regulatory decisions are suffering from a lack of coherence and consistency, and regulators have increasingly become quasi-judicial authorities instead of dispute resolution authorities. So I think that the entire gamut of the policy on natural resources requires a review by the new government to inject transparency, consistency, no doubt based on market-determined prices.
All right, transparency, consistency and predictability in every government decision. Mr. N.K. Singh, thank you very much for being with us.